Yes, people, welcome back to GNA TV and Chelsea Fan TV for the match reaction to Chelsea 2, Spurs 0. And as always, Chelsea seem to always find a way, when they're not even playing well, to just beat Spurs. And what's that, 33 now? Well, they've only won 1 in 33. That's absolutely crazy, guys. Absolutely crazy. Listen, I am in Morocco right now, guys. I wasn't meant to be doing today's show, but unfortunately some of the panel weren't able to make it across and be a part of today's show, which means I've had to jump in and do this show with you guys. If you can, please smash the like, share it out, do everything that you need to do, guys. Yeah, I'd massively appreciate it. We're going to go through some Hansi Flick news. We're going to talk about the game, player ratings. I want to get your thoughts and opinions as well, guys, in the chat. If you can do that, that would be amazing. Yes, Couch, the boy is in the building as well. And yeah, like, can everyone hear me? Because I never know when I'm in another country and using someone else's internet. Can anyone hear me and see me?
I'm doing the exact same thing, bro. The exact same thing.
Oh, blaming Don, isn't it? It's all blame Don. He let us down today, isn't it? I was meant to be lying on the sunbed couch right now, but it is what it is. I'm sitting there talking Chelsea. But listen, great result yesterday. We're going to talk about that in a minute. There's nearly 50 people in the building, guys. Good to see you. Thank you for all being here. Let me close some of these windows, otherwise my internet is going to lag. But I want to talk quickly about this news around Hansi Flick that's been coming out in the last hour or so. Apparently, Hansi Flick and Chelsea have been talking. There have been talks in between Hansi Flick and Chelsea for a while, and there's also talks about the fact that Mauricio Pochettino's job himself isn't safe, as we already know as well. Christian Falk here says Hansi Flick and Chelsea, Mauricio Pochettino could now be replaced by former Bayern boss. There's one there for you guys, and then there is another one as well that we've got here for Hansi Flick. And I want to get Couch's thoughts on this before we go into the game, because we are going to talk about the game in a second, but also I want to talk about this. Hansi Flick is admired by Chelsea, as called by CF Bayern. He would also love to work in the Premier League. Apparently, he was in discussions with Marina, before obviously she disappeared, about taking over Chelsea after the Lampard situation. And obviously we've seen him with Bowley and co at games as well. It seems like they're keeping their options open, I feel, with the owners themselves. I know that they've given Pochettino the reins, but after recent performances and how this season's ultimately gone itself, I think they're also trying to just be ready for themselves, because the one thing they don't want to do is make a decision to actually fully commit and get rid of him and actually just have no one ready. And I think they're just in that position now. And I think also it's going to fall down to Pochettino, how he finishes at the end of the season. If we finish 6th or even 5th, for example, then there's a very good example that there's a very good chance that Pochettino will keep his job, because I do think that his target, Couch, is to get European football. And European football is still on the cards. We took over West Ham now. We've got them on Sunday as well. We will have a match review for that as well. I mean, what was your thoughts on Hansi Flick as an option to Chelsea as a boss, mate? Do you think it's a good option? Someone with experience, someone that has that sort of know-how? How do you feel about that?
To be honest, I don't really know much about his football. I saw him at Bayern. Obviously, they thrashed us in the Champions League that year. But, as a football man, he has his warts as well, So I'm of the opinion that they're just keeping all their bases open right now, because keep in mind, when they signed Poch only signed for 2 years.
Yeah.
And, he's entering the last year of his deal right now. So this is the time where you really need to start looking at some other names, if that's what you desire at this point in time. I don't think that, in my honest opinions, I think that Poch is going to be back next year. I really do feel that way, unless things go, crazily pear-shaped between now and the end of the season. We drop back to 10th, we lose more players to injury. The other thing that I think is important to analyze here is whether or not the board and the directors view the injuries that continually pop up with the players that we have. If they put that on watch, then I don't think he's back. Because that's a lot of money on the sidelines right now. But I happen to think that has more to do with our training staff and our medical doctors than it does Poch. Because so many times, even last year, we had players come back and then get injured again right away. Mm-hmm. And that's just a misassessment for me. So, truly, I don't care. Poch wasn't my guy to begin with. I I just feel like if you give somebody a contract, give them the opportunity to do the work that is associated with that. And the whole chopping and changing year after year after year, I don't see that being beneficial, But
yeah,
again,
I agree with that as well. But I think the one thing that we have to look at as well is with Pochettino specifically, because obviously we can only go on based on what we see, right? And I think that's very important. I agree with the injuries and etc. etc. I think that has hindered maybe what he's wanted to try and do with the team, and it's not allowed players to be rested, especially in the midfield, for example. When you look at how limited we have been all season in the midfield and struggled with, but my question with Poch still is he learning? Is he going to learn, or are we going to continuously still see him making them same mistakes that haven't worked for this football club? Because, listen, there's nothing wrong with making mistakes as a manager and understanding and learning, which I think you need to do when you first come into the door. But it's them understanding maybe not to do certain things again. Do you know what I mean? And sometimes I watch the way he sets us up. Like the Arsenal game, for example, I just felt like he never learned. Do you get that? Do you know what I mean? Like, and it was like, how many times, Poch, we got to sit here and how many times have you got to watch this type of performance based on how you're setting us up, the individuals you're picking as well, the chemistry balances are not there. And like the last couple of games, you had Chalobah and Silva who were building up this, who had a relationship, but were also, doing quite well. And you kind of just like, do you know what I mean? And it's just like, he does these little things. I'm like, if you're going to continue doing things like that, then I don't think you're going to learn. And I think we're just ultimately going to get punished. And that's my only question mark with him. I just don't know whether
at the same time, if we look at the body of the work, if he does get Europe, you got a cup final, you got a cup semifinal, and then you got Europe, and you're playing with basically a youth team. So I mean, as much as we may not, and I'm one of those people, I may not like the football. I don't really think that what we're playing, the style of football that we're playing right now, is what I like to see, to be honest. But I mean, it's a results-based business. If you can say it, if you said at the beginning of the year that Chelsea are going to be in a cup final, cup semifinal, and then finish in the top 6, I think all of us would have taken that. So, you just have to measure the results and not the way that we got there. That's kind of how I kind of look at it this point in time.
And you talk about the results and not how we got there, and you look at Chelsea's recent home form in the last, and obviously the latter, it's been a lot better. Obviously, we've only lost that one game against Wolves away. At home. These are all home games, sorry. That Wolves game at home in match week 23. But then you look at it since that. We drew, in week 12, we drew with City 4-4. Then Brighton, we won 3-2. Then we beat Sheffield United 2-0. Palace 2-1. Fulham 1-0. Lost to Wolves 4-2. But then just about beat Newcastle 3-2. Drew with Burnley, which we shouldn't be doing. Beat Man United in that crazy game. Smashed Everton. And have beaten Spurs. Comfortable. I say comfortably, but we're going to talk about that game now. But, beating Spurs as we always do. I mean, the form's not bad. You look at it on paper, the form's not bad, and you've got to bear this in mind. This is also with all these our actual injury. If you laid out our 11 of the players that are injured, it's probably better than our first team. So,
without question, we said that in the chat yesterday. I was like, "Yo, man, this team would smash our starting 11 right now, man. The injured team. It's crazy the amount of players that we purchased within the last 2 or 3 years that are just sitting in the infirmary like full time. Not getting out." It's crazy. So
exactly.
You're right about that. The home records improved. I think the atmosphere at the bridge has improved. You can certainly hear there's a little bit more energy in the terraces and whatnot, and that comes with results. You get results, you get the team behind you. So, I'm not wishing for anyone to lose their job. I'm not a guy that doesn't. I just try and back the team, really, right? So, if we continue on this path and we can continue to find form, we continue to, build on this record at home and whatnot, then let's do it, man. There's nothing more than I want than to see Chelsea be successful, not to be right when when I've said something in the past and it hasn't come to fruition. I'd rather Chelsea be successful than me to be 100%. Right. That way.
100%. And we can only we only always assume what's best for our football club. Do you know what I mean? Right. But I mean, the ultimate thing is, and all of us, we may have all different opinions about the football club, how we think who could run it better, or what players should play, or what system we should be playing, all these things. But ultimately, whatever system ends up getting played, whatever one's the most successful under whatever manager is what we want. We want wins, and I'm pretty sure that every Chelsea fan, forgetting all the love for players and whatever, or managers or whatever. All we all want together is for our team to do well and be back up there again and challenging. Right, it's going to be 7, nearly 8 years since we've won the Premier League title, guys. You know, the last major trophy we won was nearly 3 years ago. The Champions League would kind of give us a little bit of a like, and okay, we've won a major trophy. But when it comes to the Premier League, we've been very inconsistent. You know, and that's something that I want to see this football club be at again. And I do think there will be an opportunity when you look into next season with Man City. The potentials of Pep maybe leaving. Klopp's already left, as we know, and they've appointed a new Feyenoord manager. Spurs is just Spursy. Arsenal, you know, I think will go again next season, and they do look very strong. Don't get me wrong, but how long are they going to continuously keep sticking with Arteta if he's not winning things? So there's a big opportunity here for us to really mould the squad, get them playing in a certain way. You know, experience behind them as well, even though it's not been a great season for us overall. You know, trying to just really take this in and go again next season with fit players. Enzo will come back without that hernia injury, and Kunku, hopefully, fingers crossed, somehow will find fitness the same as Reece James as well. Big, important players that we need in the team in this game, and we'll just have to see. Just to see what's going to happen. But forwards here as well. Big up, forward.
Big up.
Big up, man. Big up, man. Big up, everybody.
He always says ads at the beginning as I say forward, but that's why I say it. But anyway, stop putting forward.
You just die hard. Habits just die hard for you, clearly. But it's all good, man. It's all good. I'm in a good mood. You won a big game, you know. Can't complain.
Let's go into the game because I know Couch hasn't got long. You haven't got long yourself as well. I want to talk about specific individuals' performances before. Actually, talk about the game for me before we go into the specifics. But I'll just bring up Cucurella for now because it's one player that I do want to speak about in today's show. But Couch, talk to me about the game for you. How did it go in terms of how we set up, how it went through the 90? Did we have control of the game, do you feel? Or how do you think it went?
I thought it was a pretty low event game, to be honest. Really languid and slow, but that was a tempo that we were comfortable playing at. And Spurs did not try and, they didn't try and play at a tempo that we were uncomfortable at. So I thought the game was pretty much in control for them for large chunks of it. But in terms of opportunities one way and the other, I thought that obviously we had the better opportunities. But, I don't really think that Spurs threatened us in the final third. I think there was a one header from Romero that might have been troublesome if it were on target. But other than that, it was pretty low event and, very much at a slow tempo that suited us, to be honest, right? You have Cucurella up there. We obviously noticed, and this is why I don't care about starting position. It's always about the assignment of the player. This is why I don't say, oh, yeah, we're playing a 4-2-3-1. Oh, yeah, we're playing a 4-4-4-3. I don't care about that stuff. It's what the player is doing on the pitch. What is his assignment? And this is exactly what we're talking about. Clearly, Cucurella was the left back. But when we were in possession of the football, he came into the midfield. And he made the pivot with him and Caicedo. So
which helped, by the way, aided him a lot in the last.
Absolutely, it was. This is right there for you. Like 9 grand duels won. Like he was good. He was good there. Did some good overlaps in the final third as well. Didn't really amount to much. Got into the final third, I think, in the first half. Got into the box and then probably should have just hit it first time or crossed it first time. And took a touch, and then the opportunity was wasted. But ultimately, this is what management is all about. This is what tactics is all about. You don't just say, okay, you're the left back and you're the right back, and you go up the field and you go down the field. Yeah. It's about how you set up the team to mitigate what the team wants to do well. And I thought that, credit to Poch, he did a good job of that, like recognizing that he could use Cucurella in the midfield, recognizing that Cucurella has the legs and whatnot to be effective there. I'm pretty sure we've all talked about this at some point before, that Cucurella in a pinch can be used in this role just because of how he likes to get touch tight and how he's
aggressive, isn't it?
All over the pitch.
It's very aggressive off the ball, and that's why it works. I think it was a very clever tactical ploy by Poch, and people keep saying, oh, Enzo's not playing, and look at Caicedo, he's so much better. No, you're missing something massive of what Poch has done tactically. When we're off the ball, and when we press higher up the pitch, especially when we're in the offensive phase of the opposition, when we lose the ball, you've got Caicedo pressing in higher areas, which makes him more effective. But then he hasn't got to worry about that hole because Cucurella is sitting there. Does that make sense? And he just hits because he's playing in the central wall, a bit like Zinchenko does for Arsenal. You know, the way they use him, they're sort of same thing. It's exactly the same sort of thing, but it works. And you're seeing a better Caicedo because when he receives the ball, he can now make them passes. He knows he's got options. He's not left on his own with 2 or 3 players 50 yards away from him and having to try and take players on and play the balls. And that's what used to frustrate me. Now he's got someone next to him that wins the ball, gives it to him. He's got time on the ball now because he's not the only one there. And he can then, play the ball, be quicker. And he just looked better. We're going to talk about Caicedo separately. But Cucurella, I think, on his overall performance, I think he looks even better as a player playing that role. It's like we bought something out that we didn't even know we had in this player. Whether it can work on a consistent basis is a different situation. We're going to see that. But in terms of what we asked for him to do yesterday, it worked. It worked, and it worked in the game before as well, against Villa away. Where in the second half, we've done the same sort of thing. We gained control of the game, and offensively, we had a lot more consistent attacks because we were winning the balls back quicker, and then the guys up front were able to be more effective because they were receiving the balls quicker. Do you know what I mean? And that's the difference. When you can't get the ball more in the 10 role, and again, he was good yesterday, picking the ball up because we're winning the ball back quicker, then he can be effective. Madueke's more effective because now he can run at people one-on-ones.
Fantastic game, Madueke, by the way.
Mudryk, but the big thing in all of this as well, people didn't realise yesterday, is that by doing that with Cucurella, left that whole left one-on-one for Mudryk, which Mudryk was told to basically hold the wing most of the game. Yeah, and every time Cucurella moved into that middle and looked to the left, Mudryk was always free because he wasn't crowded in that area. Then it was one-on-one all the time, and he could maybe run and do what he likes doing, and it worked for Mudryk as well in parts. I felt.
And also, let's not forget the fact that there was a high line and there's space in behind.
Yeah,
obviously, I thought the first half was his better half, where he was using his technique to get into good areas, and then also finding some good balls in the final third, like some good passes and whatnot. But ultimately, what Mudryk needs is space. We know that. Like he's not the most technically sound when he's in tight areas, although he does have the ability at times. He just needs space, and we all know. We saw the first game against Spurs. They're going to give you lots of space to run into. Like they play such a high line. It's just I don't understand how they're in the position they're in right now, playing that way. And I don't know why that everyone's given Postecoglu the plaudits of being this great manager and whatnot. When every time I see him, he's playing against a Chelsea team that's like, at best 50% right now. At best, let's be honest. And he's getting blown apart. Like let's.
But we're affecting space, and he allowed it because he plays such he's very narrow.
He understands that we like having space, yet he's giving us so much space. It's just stupid.
Yeah, it is. I mean, forward. Welcome. Sorry.
Yep.
Quick analysis of the game before we go into it.
You're going to have to put like $5 in the cookie jar, man, every time you say forward, man.
Quick analysis.
I'll be a rich man, but...
Yesterday, forward. Tell us, what was your thoughts on the 0 to 90, the setup, the tactical deploy of Poch with Cucurella, and then also you can talk about Cucurella as well. He's forward.
Yeah, there's another £5 in there, by the way. But yeah, no. Listen, we won a big game. I've been harping on about that all season that we don't win enough big games. And obviously, it's a bit of a dead rubber based on where we can probably finish. And obviously, they're in a bit of a tailspin in terms of their form. But no, I won't take it away from the boys or Poch. It was a good performance, especially first half. I thought it was one of our best first halves. And maybe just a bit of a shame that we didn't get more goals and more of a reflection of how much better we were than Spurs in that first half. And obviously not to touch on too many points. I think obviously Couch makes the point that how good can these lot be when Chelsea have outplayed them this time with half of our squad fit, less than half of our squad fit. And I feel like we kind of did see why Spurs are where they are, because they have a relatively good system, which has been found out. Obviously, the 2 fullbacks inverting at the same time, like it's been found out a bit the last few months. And I mean, their attack isn't that great. It's quite impotent. Like they play an open game, do the high line, and obviously the other Van der Ven, who's got great recovery pace, but we still create enough chances against them. But then they attack, like their best attacker was Brennan Johnson, and he's awful. And he was awful yesterday, like which just goes to the point. So it was fortunate that we did play against an impotent attack. But that being said, no, we still did a lot of things really good, especially in that first half. And in the second half, even when we were starting to flag a little bit, you saw a little bit of inexperience show. We didn't manage the game that great, and it just shows that this is a team that doesn't often find themselves 1-0 up in games. Like this isn't a super experienced team.
Doesn't have a bench to change it.
That too, and that's why for me the biggest moment of the game was Palmer's free kick against the run of play. And I don't think it was Palmer's greatest game. Again, we'll talk about it more in detail, but that's where you need your big players. That's where you need your guys who won the big contract, the star players, the players who should be wearing a number 10. Like, that's where they turn up in those moments, and they give you that moment of magic. It was the best moment in the game. Obviously, it hits the inside of the post, and fair play to Jackson for being like a striker and following it in, sniffing up the chance and getting there ahead of Højbjerg and Son. So that was a big moment because we were really flagging in that second half at that point. But no, overall, I'm happy. It was a good performance. We'll talk about certain tactical tweaks. We'll give the manager praise where he deserves praise, and we'll also talk about why certain moves weren't done months ago. Because again, people are like Cucurella. It's, oh my God, you're getting something out of him that we haven't seen before. It's like, people understand that Pep was linked with this guy heavily. Like, you thought Pep was going to bring in Cucurella and not play him in the Zinni role? Like, you thought he was going to play him like an orthodox left back? Of course not. Like, it was obvious. And when we talked about it so often through the season, that what changes can Poch do? Like, you should do this, you should do that, and he wouldn't do them. It was weird. But again, just talk on Cucurella quickly before obviously we go into more detail on all the players. Of course, he had a very good game. It suited his attributes. Again, he's a high volume, short range passer, which suits our natural DM right now, or a main DM right now, which is Caicedo, who is a high volume, short passer. Probably more so than the Enzo. He loves playing in those pockets and having people close to him. Again, we saw him thrive at that at Brighton alongside the likes of McAllister, even Gilmore and other players that were next to him in that box, the two centre backs, and then him and another DM alongside him. He would do amazing work there, and leaving him on the island for most of the season, it didn't make sense. So again, big up to Poch for changing it second half against Aston Villa. And again, we can see what it's doing today as well, because another point that you've made earlier in the season, Couch, is the fact that Pep and Man City, they always change things and it's hard to adapt and to know what they're going to do. And that's what makes them so hard to game plan against, because they do something different almost every other game. Yeah. But when we do the same thing every single game, it gets predictable. Like, I'm seeing it with Spurs. At the start of the season, the two inverted fullbacks, that was catching a lot of teams out. They played amazing football. But last few months, Andrew, I'm a big fan of, he hasn't really adapted it that much. And now they've kind of been sussed out. So you can see it's a lot easier to play against. So that just talks about why it's important for managers to actually change things on the fly. Manage the situations. And when things are not going wrong, you need to find ways to change it. But if obviously the manager can't change things, especially with the bench being how it was, then you need your big players to turn up. And obviously I rate Palmer for the free kick, Jackson for following up with the goal. And again, overall, I thought we were very good across the park. So we'll get into it. But I'm happy.
Well, Chalobah is another one that, again, seems to have a very game. Obviously, we're going to talk about it more in depth. Obviously, Pius says Chelsea reportedly want to sell Chalobah this summer, but so many occasions he's shown true quality. He has been fantastic when he's played this season. Chelsea's nearly let Cucurella go on a straight loan to Man United. Chelsea, learn your lessons, do not sell. Obviously, this is where it kind of swings around, because a lot of the Chelsea fan base wanted Cucurella gone, and it still talks about the potential that Cucurella will be sold in the summer, from what I've been told. Maybe that will change with latter performances. And Chalobah, I keep saying that the problem with, the only thing with Chalobah, and the only reason we would sell him is just because of the issues we have with PSR at the moment, having to sell at a specific period of time. However, you look at, and I keep saying this, you look at all the other players we've still got on the books that are not even playing for this football club, and how much we could sell them for, along with maybe one or two other of the starting 11 who are not really performing. I don't see why we have to sell Trevor Chalobah, because at the moment you're going to lose Thiago Silva next season anyway. That's confirmed. You're going to get rid of Trevor Chalobah, all right, for money. But then you're going to be left with an unfit Fofana, Badia Shil, Disasi, and Colwill. I don't really think that, looking at how they are at the moment and how Chalobah's been playing at the moment, and I'm going to talk specifically about Chalobah, I think Chalobah at the moment is performing at a level that's been much better than Disasi, if you want my honest opinion. I think that I've always liked Chalobah. It's quite annoying because I've always had a bit of with Chalobah, I always think he's good, but I agree at the same time, the issue with Chalobah is, can he be consistent, and is he someone that can lead the team from the back and play at that level every game? That's the question mark, and we've seen a lot of bozo moments in the past. I get that, but I think he's allowed that at his age, being thrown into this team by Thomas Tuchel out of the blue, by the way, and having them moments of learning and stuff like that. I just don't know whether selling Trevor's the right thing to do, because of the amount of interest we get from the defence. I think we should be keeping someone like Trevor Chalobah, and when he performs he did,
I mean, we talked on this guy before. I'm pretty sure we went into this the last time he played and played extremely well. Yeah. He can have great performances for us. It's just the consistency. First of all, you know how I stay with this whole defense. I'm not the center backs.
Oh, bad couch, Badia. Oh, you got to talk about Badia.
And to echo that, the same thing that I said about Chalobah is the same thing you can say about Badiashile. He can have good performances for us. It's just that he always has a mistake in it. And then in the moments where you need them to be rock solid and switched on and show that they have the composure in key areas, is the moments they let you down. But Chalobah has put in some really, really good shifts for us. As a squad player, a guy that can play for Chelsea on a pinch, just come out of the cold and then give you a 8 out of 10. That's what you want in your squad players. That's exactly what you want. You don't want somebody who's always complaining for minutes, and then when they get on the pitch, they're making mistakes because they haven't played for a while. Chalobah is a squad player for me, a really good squad player. And the difference between him and the other center backs right now is not that great. It's not that great. Let's just be real. They're pretty much all lumped in the same sort of mediocre space there. So, he's fighting for his position right now. And, I wouldn't sell him unless an offer comes in that allows us to go get a real center back, like a proper center back. I wouldn't sell him because, as I said, like the squad that we have right now is often injured. And it seems to me like Chalobah is the kind of guy that, while also injured quite a lot, can come in from the goal and give you good minutes. Like that's what you want. So the next thing is just like whether or not he wants to be here, whether or not he wants to be a bit part player, and whether or not he wants to, just go out, kick on, find his football elsewhere where he can play like week in, week out. So, time remains to be seen. But if all things are equal and he wants to stay and he's happy with just being a squad guy, then I would keep him without question.
Yeah. Before we talk about another impressive performance, there was question marks about wanting to see Chalobah and Badiashile together, something we haven't seen. I mean, we'll talk about Badiashile in a bit, obviously, when we do the player ratings. But in terms of Chalobah again, what are you seeing that's different about him? Is there anything that you think, like, you look at him and go, actually, he's all right, he's performing better, but he's learning more, like being next to the Silvers? Like, is there anything you're seeing different with Chalobah that's making him more consistent? Or do you think he's just having good games?
There's another fiver to the kitty there, by the way. But Chalobah, listen, I feel like it's just experience, to be honest. I feel like you just naturally get better experience. And when we were seeing with under Tuchel and those times was a younger player having being rationed minutes every now and then, sometimes having good performances in the free back and then sometimes not looking that great, being poor in the air, and these little things, right? We talked about, and obviously having at times bozo moments or mistakes and then whatever, right? Like we've talked about that, but I see a guy now who's coming in and just looks a bit more experienced, just looks a bit more sure of himself, probably sure of himself as a man, just being a bit more mature now. So it's just one of those things, and I'm not too surprised to see him having good performances because I always felt like he is a good centre back. Maybe not great, maybe not going to be ever world class or be a main starting guy for us, but like I always said, you're seeing a team in the Champions League semi-final right now, Real Madrid. They have Nacho Fernandez starting games for them, and he was never going to ever be that main guy for them, but he's been around a long time and come in and do a job when the likes of Militao and Alaba are injured. And I don't see why Chalobah can't be that for us, because having homegrown players who will die for the badge, and then there you can see just how much it means to him to play for us. It's a good weapon to have in your squad. It's a very good weapon to have in your squad. And again, there's no frills and spills of him. He makes a mistake. Like even earlier in the second half, he made a little bit of a mistake. He wins the ball back. He doesn't go and do a fist pump like some French centre backs that we employ. He apologizes for a mistake and he keeps it moving and he keeps the level head. He communicates well actually towards the other players in the back line. And he's improving in some of the areas where he had deficiencies in the past, like in the year. So overall, it's good. Again, we'll also talk about Cucurella more in detail as well. But I mean, maybe this is where I'm kind of the bad guy here, but tweets like this, they kind of irk me, because I'm not going to take a shot at Pies directly, because obviously he's come on the channel. He's relatively cool account from what I've seen, but it's like people, tweets like this is what generates the sort of up and down nature of the fan base, where it's we have one good performance, maybe you can say two now back to back, even though we drew against Villa, and it's now we need to change the whole narrative on Cucurella or whatnot. It's I'm all for giving Cucurella praise, and even Chalobah praise. I think he deserves it, but it's people are want to just do this whole, okay, now this shows why we should never sell these guys. Meanwhile, we're flipping ninth in the table or whatever. It's I get some people can have these opinions. It's cool. It's just I feel the reason why people are so up and down with these performances and are so angry after a loss and then so happy after wins, because there's just always this we're so high when we win and so low when we lose. And like, you just really need to be just somewhere in the middle and just analyze things analytically and just be like, cool, let's be balanced. Let's just simple what it is. When we win, don't ignore the things that we did bad. And when we lose, don't ignore the things that we actually did good, because there's always something in the middle.
It's like a tug of war between two ideas, right? Like, oh, I don't like this guy. Oh, whenever he plays poorly, this is my chance to like sound off on him. And whenever he plays well, it's time to like mouse up and hide in the corner and whatnot. Like, I have no problem with admitting when somebody plays well. Like, that's one thing you can always count on me for. Even players I don't even rate. I have no problem with admitting when they played well. It's just this tug of war of like, oh, he's good. Oh, he's bad. Oh, he's good. It's not good for the fan base, man. Like, it's anyway. Yep. I agree with you.
Base is very narrow-minded. Like, it's easy to just pick on a player or whatever, or because a player's not playing, it's like, oh, that's why we're not playing well. Like, it's very weird thinking. I don't understand it. Like, and I've seen a lot of it on Twitter as well, and it's like, you guys are just digging at something, and it's just like, it's so. Like, I don't know. It's just so wrong. Anyway, I don't get wrong. We can criticize players, and don't get wrong, and certain players are better than others in certain areas, but it's just working out whether they're good enough for, good enough for the bench and actually being able to come in and do a job. And that's what I'm trying to work out. And we had this issue of Reece James where he used to get injured, and we used to play Ruben Loftus-Cheek on the right, and we all knew that we couldn't play him there because it just wasn't effective. But we bring in Gusto, and he kind of brings that level up, and it's about finding players that can challenge for each other, at that level, and that's what we need across the pitch. We need players that are good, that can come in if one's injured. Doesn't matter. We got him play. A bit like what Man City do, really, truly, to be honest. Yeah.
And that's it's steel that sharpens steel, right? Like that's really what it is. You can't expect Reece James or Cole Palmer, all these guys that we depend on to be our best players, to get better at their young age if they're not being challenged week in, week out for the position. It's the same 100%. Thing when under Jose. Where Drogba I remember Willian, who I never really fancied too much, said something like Chelsea's training sessions, to get in the starting lineup, you almost had to feel, it felt like you had to like kill a lion, slay a lion in training to get on the pitch at the weekend. And that's the kind of that's the kind of mentality that you have to have, and that's what you want in the squad. Right now, what we have in this squad right now is just like, as long as you have two legs and you're able to run a bit, you can get in the team. Like that's not healthy. And then on top of that, the effort and energy that it takes to win and compete at the Premier League is high. Yeah. So when you have a depleted squad and you have to train them like relentlessly to get them up to the level to compete in the Premier League, it just leads to more injuries. This is exactly what's happening with the squad right now. We have to upper level to compete, and we have a depleted squad. So it's like a double-edged sword. Do you lower the training methods in order to protect guys, or do you compete week in, week out? And
Facts.
That's just what it is.
Let's go into the player ratings, guys. Obviously, we're half hour in, guys. Make sure you smash the likes. Nearly 100 people here. Thank you for all being here. As always, guys, I appreciate it. We will be doing a match reaction to the West Ham game as well. It might be a bit earlier because it's bank holiday weekend, isn't it? So you might see that it's on a bit earlier than usual, depending on Don this time and what time he's available, because he's the one that's meant to be doing them, not me. But
such a diva, that guy.
It is. It's like, all good. Oh, I can't now, mate. Sorry. That makes sense, Couch. Big up at Xavi in the building as well. Xavi, if you want to join, bro, the link's in the chat. Come in, bro, anytime. Petrovic, I mean, I don't really have much to say about it. I just think he was. Did he actually have much to do yesterday? He made a couple of saves, but nothing really, again, where I was like, he was tested. I actually thought Tottenham were quite poor. I agree with Couch. I don't think they were that great yesterday. I think they were better in the second half. There was moments where they looked like they might give us a little problem here and there. We just seemed to just deal with it very well. And it was more to do with the midfield battle again. We just won the midfield battles between, obviously, originally it was Basuma and Sarr, wasn't it? And then they switched it to Højbjerg and what's the other guy's name that plays there? I can't remember. Anyway, we won that battle, and it was effectively massive, especially when they did have the ball and we was out of position. We seemed to win balls a bit quicker, a bit more organised. But in terms of Petrovic, barring that, and he always does it once a game, and we know it's his weakness, he gets the ball and kicks it out for a throw-in. And it's just like, Jackson's all the way down the middle and you've kicked it so left. It makes no sense how you've given away a throw-in to the opposition. Like, how the hell? Other than that, he's solid. I keep saying it. When it comes to like his position, saving where he needs to save and putting a strong hand onto things and that, like he will do all of that. It's just, as we know, he's just not the greatest at booting the ball or playing with the ball at the back. So for me, it would just probably be anything between a 5 and a 6 again. I don't think there's much to really say, but Couch.
Yeah, I'm probably about the same 5. I don't rate him like you guys do. I think that he's got warts in his game. We need a top keeper. We do need a top keeper, and part of being a top keeper is distribution these days. The way we want to play, we're gonna have to have a keeper that can distribute the ball. I mean, even so many times, like the pressure stays on when you can't find your man in space. He just keeps launching it, and then it just comes right back to us. Like, that's a problem. That is a problem. You know, like every time he gets the ball, and he like, I understand that you can't always just build out from the back because it's fatiguing, and like especially when the game's wearing on, it's tougher for guys to hold, just keep their heads and hold the composure to, really impact the game playing out from the back. But to be honest with you, we need somebody that can distribute the ball. I don't know if that's something can be learned, because you see guys that have it at a young age just have it, and I haven't seen anyone learn it. Like, obviously Thibaut Courtois was a fantastic keeper for us, could not distribute the ball, still can't, and you can say the same. Even Peter Cech wasn't really that great with distribution and whatnot, playing with his feet at least. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it's something that can be learned. I just think that you have to have that skill or you don't. But yeah, I'd give him about a 5, 6. He wasn't really tested, and he wasn't really out of position. He didn't feel like he left us wanting.
Fairs, forward, what do you think? Do you think you just had a quiet game overall, or again, how do you think Petrovic did?
Another 5, huh? And honestly, I appreciate the little shout outs for the Twitter, man. I appreciate it, bro. But yeah, no, honestly, I echo a lot of the same thoughts. He didn't do too much. Didn't have to do too much. There was one cross that he stopped in the first half. It was like fizzed the cross. Like Chalobah was better than near post, and like he got a good hand onto it because Richarlison would have had a tap in. So like that for me counts as a good save, because if you don't get to that, it's a goal. I'll give him credit for that. And probably for that alone, I would give him a 6, because he didn't have to do too much other than that. Distribution again, as always, it's very much like under 10s. It's like you get it, it's a bomb, get rid. That's kind of the feeling I get when it comes to like him receiving under pressure. He does play out more in terms of like just short passing up the back. He looks more comfortable there. Like he's doing better then. Obviously not giving us any crazy mistakes like we saw with Sanchez earlier in the season, even though I think Sanchez is better on the ball, but he would just have mistakes in him every now and then.
Yeah.
So ultimately I'll give him a 6. Like cool. Like he was cool. Yeah, decent.
Oh, what's going on here, Jem? Oh, there we go. This is so different to doing it here than doing it at home, because I've got the big monitor and stuff. It's harder to do it from just the laptop directly, but here we go. Right, let's go with Couch to go first on this one. Thank you.
Of course.
Come on, Couch. Let's go.
Again, low event game, not much to do. I thought Badiashile had a couple key interceptions. He was good. He pressed high, was aggressive, marshaled Richarlison quite well. But again, it was a low event game. I don't think that we were really threatened in the final third too much. In our final third too much, defensive third, and yeah, it was just a low event game. He played well. I give him about 6, 7, 6. I don't know. Clean sheet 7. Yeah.
It's okay, Fez. I mean, short and easy and straightforward there. Forward. Ads.
Wow, man. I can buy myself a few pints off of this now, man. Let's get it going.
Badiashile, your boy. What are we saying about his performance?
He's my boy. Fair enough. I mean, off of yesterday, I'll take it, to be fair. Like, listen, I like Baddy. I was certainly mad at him with games like Arsenal, United one especially. Like, again, I mean, I watched most games back. I watched yesterday's game back. Like, when I watched the United game back, like, I literally struggled to find anything good that he did. I can be like, oh, well, that was good. Like, just better than a basic thing, So, obviously, seeing things like that, I'm less warming to him, because we're also, as a team, not getting results. Like, it's just jarring, But, yeah, I think the only thing I've allowed him with is just that he's quite poor coming back from injuries. Like he normally needs time to settle, like just get more into like that match pace. So I feel like that's something he struggled with at times coming back in. But yeah, a couple of games in a row and he's looking a bit better. Like I thought he was good. I thought he was very good. I think 7 is a fair score for him. Again, I was even mentioning it in the Arsenal game in the review of that, where obviously everybody was giving people zeros, and he certainly deserved a very low rating. But I was still at least recognizing that, you know what, a couple of his passes like between the lines were very good. And obviously there was obviously a lot of mistakes in the Arsenal game, so you couldn't really rate it too highly. But like I could see that, okay, that's the skill set that we can use. And obviously he was good against Aston Villa. Good against Aston Villa, was breaking some certain lines. Good again yesterday as well, which is good. Like we need that. And I think it also suits him having sort of like being in that LCB role, like in the free back when we're building up, because obviously Cuckoo's inverting. So it's good, man. He was good. It's a 7. Good in his duels. Was good on set pieces as well. Him and Chalobah especially were good on set pieces, winning a lot of first contact. So yeah, no, he gets to 7. And I think maybe people now want to have the conversation, oh, is he good enough now for next season? Because people are writing him off. And for me, I was like 50-50. Even though I know obviously he's gonna stay because we just signed him and we're not gonna get rid. But like the question is he good enough? Is this player that we're seeing good enough? And
yeah,
I think for me, I just always say that. I even said it when he first signed that. You know what? From what I saw at Monaco, he looked good. Like I liked him. Like he had some good performances, even against PSG. Like there were times where he did very good against Mbappe. But I thought as good as he was then, and even for how he's been, especially if you look at it when he first joined.
Cut to the chase.
The form there. The point is, no, listen, the couch critic yourself. Like, come on, balanced takes are important. But no, like the point is that he is good, but I just rate Colwill higher. And for me, Baddy, for what we standing for, 30-40 million odd, like as a backup centre back, I'm okay with that. But I think Colwill, as long as he can stay fit, is the better centre back. But yeah, like I said, 7 out of 10. I thought Couch was a bit critical, no pun intended. I think he could have been a bit more praiseworthy for what he did yesterday, because he was good yesterday. So yeah, give him a 7.
Not that he wasn't good. I just don't think that we were really tested. Like I don't remember an instance where we were really under the caution. I was like, oh my god, here it comes, and then he was there to like save us. You know.
I think Chalobah did. He had in the first. Was it the first half where he kind of they got in the box and they had that shot and he threw his body in front of it, like his legs stretched out.
It was a great block.
It was a very good block, by the way. AJ, how are you, brother? Good to see you as always. I see you were having a back and forwards yesterday with Don in the chat about
my
Conte.
guy, Don. Conte.
Yeah, man, you gotta poke the bear sometimes.
Yes, AJ, what are we saying?
No, I mean, on Badia Shield, I agree with Couch, but I also agree with Ads. You know, we weren't really tested yesterday defensively, but at the same time, you know, you got to make it that way. So I think Badia Shield's positioning was good. He cleaned up well. I think Chalobah was more the aggressive defender, like we said. So Badia Shield, you know, he was kind of chilling. That's his thing, though. You know, he likes to chill and clean up. So I think it was a strong performance. I'll give him a 7 as well.
Okay, let's move on from bad man Badia, and let's go to come on, let's go Cucurella quickly, because we did speak a bit about him anyway. But is there anything else? I mean, AJ hasn't said anything on Cucurella yet, so we'll let AJ go first. Cucurella, AJ, what do you think of his performance yesterday?
I mean, another strong performance from him. You know, I guess he likes this inside role that Poch has given him in the last week, because before that he wasn't really, you know, as a standard left back, you know, as in like that natural left back position is kind of iffy because he's not the best going forward. He can't really take his player on, you know, so it's kind of difficult for him to like be super impactful in the attack. But when he comes inside, you know, he's offering a different option, support defensively, he helps. So I think he's more comfortable with that. I think it's less of a burden for him to go forward. So I give him like a 7.5 really. No, I give him an 8 actually, because, you know, it's 2 games in a row now that he's impacted the game like to where we've controlled.
I agree.
So I'll give him an 8.
I think he's been very good. I'll give him a 7.5 for me personally. I mean, Couch, what are you saying?
I can probably give him a 7. He was good, but again, I don't think that he was really tested. Like I thought he was good on the ground duels, as was evidenced by the 9 for 9 and whatnot. But again, when you get in the final third, which he was still getting forward and whatnot, and getting in the box and whatnot, I need more there, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So yeah, like he this is why I guess when under Potter used him as like that left-sided center back role, because that's where he's best, really. Like, he's more defensive than he is offensive.
Yeah.
And he's not really a guy that you can use in overlapping positions because he's just doesn't do it, right? So yeah, I mean, Josh is saying that he like Johnson tested him on the left. I guess so. But Johnson, like, yeah, like, no said. Like, he's not up to it. He's not up to it, So,
Johnson. Anyway. Ads, anything you want to say for our dip from Cucurella?
Yeah, no, listen, I mean, I'll be honest, I don't like Cucurella. Like, he's one of the players I just actually don't like. And I feel like that's good to say because so I can also give my honest opinion on him and say, like, you know what, I can sing his praises relatively because he was good, like, especially for what he's been showing us of recent. He's been good, but of course, him in an inverted role, it makes sense, and it's not his fault that he's not been playing there. It's down to the manager. But obviously, he played in there. He's good. Again, like I said, he's a good volume passer. He links up well with Caicedo in there. I think one of his best attributes defensively is that he's like really aggressive, so he wants to nip in and like make those like short little bursts and then win the ball ahead of an attacker, and that's good. And it suits him then being in that midfield role where like the spaces are a bit more closed. I think obviously out wide he just lacks the pace, the recovery pace especially. So like that pace just affords him less opportunity to then make a decision. And like even that chance I mentioned earlier where Brennan Johnson whips it in and then Petrovic actually has to make a good save, stopping it from getting to Richarlison for an open goal. Like that comes from Cucurella just being a bit too narrow, and then because he hasn't got the pace to get out and close the cross, a dangerous cross comes in. But ultimately no, he had a good game, and I will say that he was tested more than Gilchrist on the right hand side because they attacked a lot more on that side. And no, he was good against Johnston. He was their best attacker, but again, it's Brennan Johnson. He's awful as well. So yeah, no, Cucurella, he had a good game. And yeah, in this role, he offers much more than he offers as a natural fullback, much more. So if he's playing there, I'm not going to complain too much. As a natural fullback, I don't want to see him ever, to be honest. He's awful there. But in this role where he can be inverted and he can have more impact on the game, be closer to the DM, it makes sense. So I'm all for it. But yeah, 7.5 out of 10. I think that's fair for him.
Couch, what time do you need to leave? You said you need to leave soon.
This is the 5-minute warning. I was just going to put it in the private chat.
5-minute warning. Okay, so in that case, is there any other players that you specifically would like to talk about before it's like that you want to speak on?
Yeah. Well, I know that Ads is going to be ripping Mudryk unjustly, but I want to talk about Madueke because he had an interesting game for me.
Okay, let's talk Madueke then. What was Sam?
Yeah, I just think that this guy's full of confidence right now, and you're seeing it. I can't even remember who the left back was on for the Spurs.
Emerson Royale.
Royale, yep.
Yeah, he was cooking that dude, and like I'm talking like every time he got on the ball, every time Madueke got on the ball, he was looking to take him on, and oftentimes just blew past him. You know what I mean? I was like, wow, he knows he's got the beat in this guy. He knows he's definitely in the ascendancy in the game and has the confidence to take him on. And it was good to see. Like this is obviously a younger player that needs opportunities and whatnot, and it's good to see that like this last little run of form right now is producing good results on his part. He still has a bit of a impetulance to him, like youthfulness to him that is immature at times that I don't necessarily like, a little bit of selfishness as well. But, overall, as a young winger, as a guy that can come into the games and impact it for you, he's given some good minutes. Should have scored. I think, who was it? I think Mudryk played him into space or something like that. He cut it back and looked like he was going to smash it, but he skied it. But yeah, he's definitely come on the last little while, and I give him an 8, to be honest, an 8.
Anyone else want to talk? I mean, I'll talk on Madueke quickly. I agree with Couch. I think his performances have been better, and I think what I like about him more is when he gets the ball and he drives more with the ball. What I don't like is when he knows he can beat his player, but he just stops and goes backwards a lot. And I'm like, stop that. drive. You're 1-on-1. Don't allow the guy to catch up and be 2-on-1. Just like go, bro. Like be direct. You're one of our most direct players in the team. We need you to make. We need you to create, and it's important. You need them type of players in your team effectively because by dribbling and taking a player on is actually creating for others in the box. There's all different types of creation, and that's one of the ones that I think is important. And Emerson Royale was getting run around mad in the first half. He was getting to the corner line, cutting on him, like he was skidding him. Like he just wasn't strong enough. He wasn't quick enough. He just couldn't handle him, And he needs to do that more for me. That's my biggest issue with him. He needs to do it more. Sometimes he just floats in games when I think he could, he just kind of just play,
Like he's like an N1 mixtape, like moves, but not really doing anything effective to affect the game.
Yeah.
And I felt like he was a little bit more direct and sharp in the final third with his movement. It wasn't like he was just trying to like dribble past, show that he can dribble and then not have any end product and whatnot. Like he was effectively using his dribbling ability to impact the game in the final third. That's the difference. It's not like, oh, I got these tricks. Let me show you my tricks. And then, okay, what now? Like that's
Traore style, for Wolves who just fucking run and then output was awful, That's literally
right.
Now, let me say something about Noni though, because right now he's in his best form for Chelsea since he signed.
Yeah.
He's really cooking. I think right now he's locked in for that right wing spot. He's probably the first name besides Palmer. Palmer, he's kind of out of form a little bit, but Noni, he's
also playing out of position too, because he was most effective off the right.
Right. Yeah, exactly. You do see that. But Noni's been one of my favorite players this season, especially over the last couple of months. His approach to the game has really matured a little bit, like we're saying right now. He was dribbling before, but maybe shy a little bit, didn't want to lose the ball, just he wasn't on Poch's great side, so now I guess he has some type of confidence form. Poch has empowered him in some way. So you see like another level of the player, and he's getting shots off. He's creating. He's doing a lot. All right, Couch.
Peace.
Thank you, man.
Yeah, later, bro.
I'm happy with what we're seeing. This is what I'm looking for in my winger, for real. So I hope it could continue, and I hope he could add a few more goals to his game. Then it really becomes a he really becomes a big deal. So.
Yeah, what are you saying, ads? Madwakey.
Yeah, so just finishing a little email. Noni's an interesting one for me, very interesting one because again, coming back off the Arsenal game especially, right? Obviously there was Aston Villa game in between, but I feel like this game was like similar in the sense that like you're being asked questions tactically of you, like are you going to be able to track the fullback that's inverting a bit, and like are you going to be like helping the back line defensively? Like when we're actually defending in our first third, are you actually going to be attached to your right back and help him out? Because that was one of the biggest criticisms that I had of the Arsenal game, where like they would just have so much space, whether it was Rice that was in the 8 or it was Tomiyasu moving inside. Like they were just getting so much joy on that side, and he was offering nothing defensively. And like again, we look at players almost like obviously like Mbappe, like Rafael Leao, Rashford, although he's not at the same level. Like these guys who almost act like luxury players off the ball, and I don't want that from a guy who's in his early 20s, who hasn't got any who isn't a household name yet. You still got to earn your shit. Like you got to earn your name in this game. You got to earn your money. Obviously, it's unfortunate that we just hand these big contracts out to players who haven't done much in the game, but that still shouldn't take away from your hunger to want to reach the top. So I feel like that was a big criticism that I had going into this game, was like, can he do that? Because I knew what Tottenham were going to bring with the inverted fullbacks and whatnot, and they were going to ask us questions defensively. And I don't fully agree with Couch's point about that we weren't tested defensively. I think we were. We just, like, in terms of pressure and like them having the ball and trying to do stuff, they asked questions of us. They just didn't ask great questions because they haven't got great attacking players. But again, just keeping it to just Noni specifically, I thought he was great. I thought he was amazing. Again, a direct threat, constant threat, cutting inside, creating chances. Again, the chance that he put over the bar, again, I would like to see him put that in, but again, the way that he cut in and was a threat, it's difficult for him to be tackled. I like that. And I think what I enjoyed most about his performance was that defensive work. Again, what I was talking about and what I didn't see the Arsenal game, I saw it today. I saw him busting a gut to get back. I saw him making sure that he was switched onto his fullback that was inverting. Like, whenever we needed to like shuffle up to the left, and Gallagher would go up to the left to support Cuckoo's side, and then Caicedo would kind of end up being like in a left DM position. Noni would then be to the right and like would be close in tight with that shape. And that's how you need to be as a midfield, whether that's a midfield 4 or midfield 5 off the ball. Like you need to be tight. You don't need to be standing on the halfway line and like not interested in walking around. No, you need to be engaged off the ball. I love seeing that from him. Offensively, he was very good. Better than the guy on the other side who we will talk about. But I like the performance. And again, I still feel like for Noni, like for me, it's like he's still that signing that I don't appreciate. I feel like we need to sign guys who are more ready. And I just feel like he's of the guys that we signed as wingers, he's the most ready, and he can do a thing on that right hand side. And if Palmer thrives in the 10, which he's shown he can do, and also he's had some lukewarm games, which again we will come to, but I think Noni, he could potentially lock down that right hand side. And for what his skill sets are, being one of the best dribblers in the league in terms of if you look at the numbers, like I like that skill set. I like that skill set on the right. If he can cut in and be a bit more of a threat with the left foot whipping it into the far corner, then that'd be great because he will get the numbers that will elevate these kind of performances. So yeah, overall, I'll give him an 8 as well. I thought he was very, very good.
More consistent, doesn't he? That's the one. Like maybe that will come with a bit more time, experience. All of them really, because like you said, we've signed a very raw squad. You know, we've not really mixed it with experience. We've not, we've kind of thrown them in the deep end and said go. You know, we've had a lot of injuries that's not helped it as well. Like there's a lot of factors. Don't get me wrong, but when your time is there and being given, and your opportunity is to now play, and you're starting. For me, I know you're young, and you might lack a bit of inconsistency, but the one thing you should always do when you're playing and you get given an opportunity is show your qualities in the game. Always, just show what you can offer. And if you can't do that in the game, then that's when it becomes a bit of a problem for me. When you're inexperienced, when you're young, because it tells me that you ain't Chelsea level, you ain't ready yet, and this is where we go to, and we're going to go the other way round rather than going from defense attack, because we're now into attack. This is where we go into this guy, because I actually thought he had a decent first half. I'll be quite honest with you. I thought he played quite well. He played some good balls in behind. Jackson, you could say he should have scored, and then it hit Palmer. The diagonal from left to right was very good. He's got a very good. The thing I like about Mudryk is he's got a very good way of timing his passes in behind. People don't notice it, but I keep saying it. Like when he does get the ball and he's in that sort of position, he seems to have that like quality of being able to play a good ball in behind, or play, or the right ball in behind. It's just that we don't see enough of it with Mudryk. And like you look at the second half, it kind of fizzed out again for me. Just kind of fizzed out again and sort of disappeared in the game. And I want him to be a lot more effective on the ball. And I thought, I'm not going to ignore the first half, because I thought he had a good first half, and he did show some good qualities. He nearly scored when he cut inside and tried to bend it into that top right, which was close, by the way. It wasn't miles out. But then equally, he has the moment where we have a corner, the ball comes straight out to him, and he decides to just hit it rather than maybe just play it to the right and then allow, I think, Chalobah, whoever it was off the right, to cross it back in while your centre-backs are up the pitch. Like there's little things where you look at it and I'm like, he's so raw. And then sometimes I look at it and I'm like, no, there's a quality there. But that quality there, I don't think is enough to be consistent in a full 90. And that's my issue with him. As when you look at Madueke, he's been showing that he can kind of carry it all the way through. With Mudryk, he doesn't show that he can carry it all the way through, which tells me that he's still quite just not there and raw. And he's just like, do you get what I mean? He's just slow burner. Whatever. I mean, go on, AJ, what are you saying?
I mean, I agree with what you said. He definitely had a strong first half, especially for his, what he's been doing over the past year and a half. He normally, I'm complaining about him. He's unable to control the ball. He's, his decision making. He's just giving the ball up like cheaply. Like it's not even any pressure on him. He's just giving up the ball. But I do think yesterday he was a little more tidy. His touch was decent. When you say he has a good pass in behind, I agree, because I think he likes that reverse pass. He likes to make that reverse pass behind the defense. And he's done it a few times this season. So he has a decent – I think he knows what he wants to do. It's just my thing is, again, the execution of what he wants to do. If it doesn't come off, it looks crazy. So But yesterday he had a strong game, strong first half. He fizzled out in the second half. But that chance that he curled and it was close, I was surprised that he even got that chance, because Palmer fizzed the ball into him and he actually took a very clean touch. I was like, wow, Mudryk took a clean touch, and then he could have buried it. But I mean, like, this guy's so polarizing, like, because he, you see the potential, like, you see what he can possibly bring. That ball he played behind to Jackson, he or him just using his raw pace, there's a lot of potential there. We just hopefully we could see it come together, because it's there. But
yeah,
I give him a 6.5 still, because you can't just play it one half of the game and then fizzle out. That's not good enough.
What are you saying then, Ads? Because obviously I know I think we're all quite skeptical of Madrid, but I think you more so just because you expect more for what we've paid for him potentially. But what's your thoughts on his performance yesterday?
Yeah, I mean, I expect more for what we paid for him, and also like his wages as well, the hype, all of it. And yeah, I feel like, I think AJ put it best when he says that sometimes he just does things that are just crazy. Like, it just makes you just like scratch your head and just be like, bro, what are you doing? Like, because like I said, even last time we speaking on Modric, it's like he's like the Ukrainian Jeremy Lynch. Like, there's moments that are great, but it's like this isn't a YouTube skit. You don't get 50 takes to do a certain skill level. You gotta do it in the Premier League against the elite level in terms of like just that's the highest level in English football right now. And you don't get 50 takes to do it. You got to execute. And little things like the first 50 minutes when he's giving away a lot of sloppy balls is like, it's like people don't really recognize those things. Is like, like you're losing the ball 50, 40 yards from goal, and it's like that's like don't like under very little pressure. It's like you can't be doing things like that consistently. And he does a lot of things like that consistently, which just irks me. But again, those pet peeves aside with Modric, listen, this was for him a very good game. Like I'll be real, like he's creating some chances. Some of the things that he was doing was coming off. I really like his switch ball. Like he will get it and like he will cut inside it and he will just switch it, whether it's 40 yards, 50 yards, 60 yards. Like he's got that in his locker to be able to do that. At least to some level of consistency. And in the final third, like he was a threat, like, and that's what you want him to be. You don't want him to just be like, oh, he's got pace, like he can maybe get in behind. Like, no, actually, let's actualize that pace. Let's actualize your ability to play it, because, like you mentioned, Jim, he's got that ability to thread passes through and see things that other players can't see. So I will give him credit for those things, and he was able to execute a few of those things. The chance that Palmer created, where he whipped it across to him, like that was a good chance. He probably should score, but again, it was close. Like I can give him some credit for that. And yeah, second half, again, it petered down a bit. We kind of went back to our kind of a habit of using more the right side, and also like Tottenham were pressing us. And it was only after we scored the second goal and then he came off shortly after that we kind of gained a bit more control back in the game. But yeah, like I'll give him a 6.5, maybe a 7, just because it's him and I know what he's been like in recent games where he's not been that great for me. And I thought today, you know what, I can give him his props and say that he was a threat. He at times cooked Porro, created some good chances, so I'll give him that. And defensively, he was all right, but again, not as good as Noni defensively, which is why Noni gets a much higher rating for me. And I feel like that side of his game, that game intelligence, that understanding and that awareness, he needs to improve on a lot more if he's going to be able to hold down a spot at a top team.
Yeah, I hear you. I agree. And I actually agree with a lot what you say, Ads, on your analysis of him, because I'm not his biggest fan. I do expect more for him. I just think that we've overvalued him. I think we've bought him not realising that he's just still very raw. Like he's just very raw, and he's just not at the level, really and truly, to be really playing at Chelsea. But then you look at the route that this club's gone down since the new owners have come across, and all of the raw talents that we've kind of brought in, that are still very young, and you can see could be something in the next 4 to 5 years. And you think, so, well, maybe this is just where the club is at the moment. This is what we're doing right now. Is this actually part of the project? Just bringing in these young, talented, hopefully players that in the next couple of years are going to be, key players to the team and have the experience at young and still playing in the Premier League at the age of 24, 25. And, you're seeing them be more consistent. You're seeing more of that quality. You're seeing them making the right decisions. You're seeing them. This is what I think is the idea with the club's ethos and where they're trying to go with things. It's just, will it be successful long term? But in the short term, we still want to be up there. We still want to be European football. We still want, so it's a very hard. It's very hard what we're trying to do. And then, there's talks about buying that young one. Is it Estevao, his name is, isn't it? I think it is. He looks really good, by the way. I'm looking at him. But, like, there's talks that we're going to spend 30, 40, 50 million on that guy as well and bring him in along with Payas. And it's like, you got all these young players, and the one thing I have been hearing about this summer specifically is there's talks potentially that we might be cooling down the whole buying of younger players and maybe look at specific players with experience in areas, which means they're calling off the sort of 25 bracket and under. So there might be this season, this summer window, guys, players brought in with a bit more experience at the age of like 26, 27, if we do find them and it fits the profile of what we're trying to do in the squad. And I don't think that's a bad idea personally, for what we're trying to do. We will go to Cold Palmer, AJ. Cold Palmer. What's your thoughts on him? Where is he?
Palmer, first of all, this guy, even if he doesn't have his best game, he's still very impactful for us. So he's clearly like an important player for us because he kind of ties everything together.
Yeah.
Even Jackson's goal, he's not getting that if Cole doesn't smack the crossbar with the free kick. So I think, again, it wasn't one of his best games. He's kind of been off form over the past maybe 2 weeks. Well, he was sick or maybe injured, or he's also being played a little bit more centrally, so there's a little less space, But I think overall throughout the game, he still was impactful. He still was decent on the ball. I think he had a nice chance that I'm surprised he kind of smashed over the bar. He tried to just curl it far post.
Yeah, early second half, yeah.
Yeah. I wish he hit the target, because if he hit the target there, that's going in. Goalie is beat.
For me, he should have hit. And Joe, what annoys me with him a little bit is like, I want him to just put his foot through the ball sometimes.
Sometimes, man.
He would smash it. Like FIFA circle on R1 Cole in the corner. You know what I mean?
He likes that placement shot. He likes that placement shot. But even that, he doesn't even. You could put your foot through a placement shot. I wish he would do that too. But other than that, I mean, it was just a standard game. I give him a 7.5. I know he's been great player of the season for us, maybe, but I still hold people to that next level at Chelsea, and he's one of the players who I know can get there. So I'm still just gonna hold him to another level. So I'm giving him a 7.5.
Okay, ads Cole Palmer, not his best game.
Yeah, like I mentioned, not his best game, and I agree with everything that AJ said. Like, again, sometimes you just have to hold to a higher standard, and we've seen what he can do. And again, obviously, we have to give him some allowance because we know that he's fighting through whether it's an illness or a slight injury. He has to play a lot of minutes. This is his first time ever playing this many minutes in a season. So, like, it's okay for certain players to like not have their best games consistently, right? Like, they're not robots, and these guys aren't Lionel Messi, CR7, even Hazard. Like, they're not that good. Like, they're gonna have dips and troughs, right? But like, I just want to see players when they have maybe not their best games, still impact the game and also not look like a scrub, right? Like, still again look technically polished, do like the basics well, still create chances, which he did create chances. Of course, his finishing, I wanted to see that be better. But again, if you're having a relatively off day, maybe I would give him, let's say, maybe like a 6.5 or whatever, right? That free kick alone, I have to boost him up because that's a big moment. And I talked about it before AJ came on, but like, about how that's such a big moment, like, because we're having a pretty poor period in the game. They're gaining confidence, they're gaining momentum. Maybe they might take with their next chance. You never know. But then he steps up with that free kick, and it's a beautiful free kick from a long distance. So like, that was a big moment. Obviously, then we scored from the rebound, so I have to big him up for that because it was a moment in the game when we could have been level, and then maybe who knows what happens in that game if they score the next goal. So big moment. I'll give him a 7 overall. Yeah. And I think just quickly, just to end on him is like, I don't mind him in a 10. I feel he's had some good performances in the 10, like the Everton game. Maybe he's better suited to being out wide and like cut it in because it's easier to like generate space for yourself when you're out wide trying to cut in. Like, we've seen it like with the likes of obviously Hazard, even someone like Dimitri Payet, where people thought, he has to be a 10, but then he had his best season for West Ham as a left winger cutting in because he could like, it was harder to mark when you're just in a 10 and you have more times 2 DMs that are next to you trying to patrol you. Like, it's harder to find that space, but Palmer coming off the line to then create, he found more space. So I feel like he needs to try and find that balance of trying to get more space between the lines when he's playing as a 10. Because then when we get him on the ball, we know he's going to do something. We know more often he's going to try and create something. So, overall, good. Yeah, good. 7 out of 10. Big him up for that free kick.
Okay. Before we go into the midfield, just quickly talk about Nicholas Jackson. Again, for me, he does everything well off, in a deeper position, picking up the ball, carrying the ball, done well, got the goal as well. Effectively, he's reading. Actually, his reaction to Palmer's free kick to getting himself into the position was of a striker, by the way. That killer instinct, which is weird to say about Nicholas Jackson, to be quite honest with you, because I actually think he lacks that in abundance. But in that moment, he got himself in the right position. He headers it in the back of net and he finishes the game off. And that's what we want from our strikers, right? That's what we always want. And everything else of his game is so unpredictable. He goes left, he goes right, he carries it left, he carries it right. He runs through the middle here. He's quick. He's not slow, is he? He's actually really quick. The more and more I watch him, I realise he's got a lot of pace behind, especially what he did to Chalobah away. The way he just sprinted off him like nothing and just left him was just. He's just got so much about him in terms of his physical presence, his touch on the ball, the deep line, the carrying of the ball, whatever. I just wish that he was just clinical. And I say clinical because he still scored. How many has he scored now? 15, 16 goals in the season? Like he could have had 25 goals this season when you look at the chances. He could have been top goal scorer. Not even joking. People laugh at this, but he actually could have been top goal scorer based on the chances that he's missed for Chelsea. Like it's mad when you think about that. And I do like Jackson. At the beginning, it was just more of how he fits in.
You do now.
It's more about. I've never dissed Jackson. I've never come here and said I don't like Jackson. It's never come out of my mouth.
You haven't, but you shitted on him before, though. But
you called him much worse than said you don't like him. You called him all kinds of things under the sun.
No, but I get it, though. I get it.
Not in a bad, like in a. See, my question marks for Jackson back then are still a little bit for what it is now. It's just that what he's doing different now, in my opinion, is he's being more effective in games. As when you look at it back then, I felt like he used to just fizz out of games. In fact, he used to just find it hard to get in. For me, watching him in the previous games, it was just he wasn't involved enough for me, and that's why I used to criticize him because I used to be like, "You're very good at carrying the ball, this, that, and the other, but you just disappear." But what I've seen of Jackson since he's come back is a Jackson that's actually been getting involved, even when he's not creating, even when he's not scoring, he's creating for others, and he's becoming more effective in the team. And I like that. It's just that we still need that person at the top to finish the chances, right? Yeah, so it's just a different type of Jackson that I've been seeing, which I like,
I agree. Yeah. I first of all, I gotta really give this guy a bunch of praise because again, I said it last stream, he plays every single game 90 minutes, and he really works hard every single game. He may not be the best in front of the goal, but this guy I want to see his dribbling stats, how compared to everybody else, how much distance he covers with the ball at his feet, because it's so much. He creates chances. He's good on the left wing. He can turn his defender. He can outrun his defenders. Well, Van der Ven is really fast, and Jackson always gives this guy problems, So I think he's really coming into himself. He's improving as the season goes on, and then he's putting the ball in the back of the net. That's always going to help him. I still think he needs to improve his shooting and his I think the timing of his passes, sometimes I think he holds the ball just that extra second too long that he doesn't really need to. Once he gets that, because that if he loses the ball sometimes where he doesn't even need to. He's carried 4 defenders with him, and then he could have just dropped it off, but he can't.
Yeah, just play it. Yeah, don't carry it. Yeah.
Let it go. You've done everything already. So, I give him an 8 because I just like the way he's been really working hard and leading the team, leading the line, and he's putting the ball in the back of the net sometimes. So I'm happy with it. And we didn't pay much for this guy. Remember, we always have to say that this guy was under $40 million. We don't really get much from those type of players at this club. So I
hear you. I mean, coming in adds Jackson performance, scores, effective in the game, up and down the pitch, working hard, all of what we want to see. I mean, what are we saying?
Yeah, just to piggyback off AJ's last point, we didn't pay much for this guy, and yet he's got the most. He's probably got the most responsibility in the whole squad because he's been the main striker pretty much the whole season. We've got an 18 million pound striker on the bench that we just don't use. So it's literally Jackson or bust, And post AFCON, he's been put through the ringer in terms of playing minutes, but he stood up. He's given his best. You know, I can't ever fault him for that. Of course, the finishing at times has been poor. At times, not the best link-up play, but again, just strictly on yesterday's performance. Yeah, again, I have to say it was good. It was good. You know, there was a chance, obviously, in the first half where he could maybe do more to like find the better finish. There was also a chance earlier on where he could have played it across for Palmer, and he didn't see that. You know.
Yes.
So little things like that. Again, like you just hope that these guys are watching the tape back and they see these moments and like they have a bit more awareness in the moment to like pick the right decision. You know, and like just at least survey your options. Like get your head up and like actually look. You know. Because the ball's not going. If you take a good enough touch, the ball is not going anywhere. You have a chance to then look around. You know, a little thing like that. Obviously, he can improve with time. And yeah, like again for his game, given again what AJ said about how much we spent for him, I'm happy with him over the likes of Højlund and Nunes. Again, he were bought for twice the money, and I probably on twice the wages as well. So yeah, I'm overall okay with what Jackson's brought. Again, his finishing still needs to be better, of course. But yeah, little things like okay, how he drives with the ball, especially under pressure, like holding players up. Like again, his hold up play is better than the likes of Højlund and Nunes, who are twice as big. You know. Again, his decision making in terms of when he releases it needs to be better. But no, again, a lot of things that he does that you maybe wouldn't say a striker needs to do, he does very well. Like even winning the ball back. Like a lot of times he would finish the ball back well. In recent games, even against Man City, he did it well. At times against Arsenal. Again, yesterday winning the ball back quite a lot. You know, I didn't have enough time to check SofaScore to see the actual numbers, but I know he won the ball back quite a bit. So give credit to him for all of these things, and I'm just happy that he got his goal. You know, 4 against Tottenham over the season sounds good. You know, so yeah, good for him, man. I'm happy for him. I'll give him probably give him a 7.5. I think is good for him. 7.5.
What about the guy that had his own whatever it is in the stand last night? Conor Gallagher in the pit. He's much better than Enzo Fernandez. He's a pivot player. He's the player we needed next to Caicedo. This is the guy, man. He is the baller, man. You know, like he's the guy. I mean, listen, there was moments in yesterday's game where Conor Gallagher wasn't even next to Caicedo. Again, he was miles away. But do you know why he was allowed to do that? Because Cucurella was playing next to Caicedo. This is what people realise, and it really annoys me when we go, I think we signed Enzo and made him. Oh, no.
We did our money.
That's my heading. Like, use your brain. Like, can't you see Cucurella is playing in the central part of the game, which means Gallagher's not always in that position next to Caicedo. When people go, well, actually, Caicedo and Gallagher is a better pivot than Enzo and Caicedo. Well, hang on. Cucurella wasn't dropping in the middle when Enzo was moving forward. Do you know what I mean? Like, this is weird. But listen, Conor Gallagher performance yesterday, I thought he played okay. You know, I wouldn't say it was an amazing Conor Gallagher performance. I just thought he does what he always does. He gets around the pitch well. He's got the energy. I've never disliked Gallagher. I've never hated Gallagher. I just don't think he's a player that should be starting every game for Chelsea Football Club. And I still think that's the case now. Like, that is just literally if he was on the pitch and he was coming on like in 60th minute and we were like fine. Like, I've got no issues with it. I just don't think he needs to play every game. And like, I don't know.
90 minutes every game. He doesn't need that.
I don't really know what much more to say other than I thought he had a good game yesterday next to him, Caicedo. We'll talk about Caicedo in a bit. You know, he got stuck in, he won balls, he released balls, he played further up the pitch. There was moments again where he got the ball and he got a little bit, like he took heavy touches here and there, and I was a bit considered not a pivot player. When you play the pivot, when he is deeper and he's playing the pivot and he receives the ball, he's not as comfortable on the ball in terms of like, is his first touch going to be good and is his second touch going to be a good pass? Like, I get a little bit worried with that, if you know what I mean. Like, because he can do it sometimes, but he's not. It's just not his game for me. Like, it's just not his game. So for me, it's like, yeah, we done okay, but are we overblowing the situation by saying that Caicedo and Gallagher is the best pivot in our team? Yes, I think personally still, but
I think he you know what, in Poch's system, Gallagher's qualities just really show in terms of the running and the pressing.
Yeah,
he just gets a lot of opportunity to do that, and he capitalizes on that, you know. So he looks good in that situation. My thing is, again, like on the ball, because even for the free kick that Cole took for Jackson's goal, if you look at the play before, if you look at how we got there, there was
Yeah,
you
yeah,
saw Hazard. There was a
yeah. I
ball
did. Yeah,
played to Gallagher into the box where he took a shit touch. So it had to, we kind of had to recover the ball. Cucurella actually recovered the ball but got fouled, so that's how we got the free. Gallagher was through on goal there, or there was somebody else making an overlap and run for a quick slip pass or something. So in that moment, it shows why Gallagher is good and why we also complain about Gallagher. So I think, with Gallagher, I think if we have this, I wouldn't mind keeping this player, but I just don't want him to be what my starting 11 is built around, because I think for us to go to the next level, because remember, we're in 8th place. So we can't be too happy with what we're seeing. We're in 8th place. We've been in 10th place, 11th place all season. So we still need to elevate the playing squad to be at the next level. So Gallagher will be a great addition, to a great player to have to come on the bench, to come off the bench, or to start some games, just have an impact, because he has a role in the team. But it looks like we're gonna sell him still, bro. Honestly, that FFP, like, we can get around it.
Yeah, I don't know. What are you saying? That's Gallagher.
yeah. I mean, let me just get the negative out of the way, right? Like, I don't want to muddy a good Gallagher performance by talking about Enzo and Caicedo too much. I feel like it's clear that Enzo was playing a lot of times with injury this season and wasn't like fully fit, and obviously still had some good performances that people like kind of put under the radar. I didn't really notice enough, And I feel like obviously he is still the best player to play in the pivot, whether it's alongside Caicedo or to play with Caicedo, with maybe a Lavia or somebody else sitting behind them or whatever it is. So yeah, I don't want to get too much into that. I feel like it's a bit just too reactionary of fans to be like, oh, look how we play better without Enzo. Like, it's not, that's not it. But no, Gallagher, I was impressed by Gallagher, man. I have to say, I was very impressed. I feel this is one of his better performances. And yeah, there were moments in there where there's heavy touches and whatnot, which, it's Gallagher, right? You have to kind of just accept that's going to happen. But he did a lot of good things in there, man, especially winning the ball back, being switched on defensively. Like, there were times where between him and Caicedo, like, one criticism is that, like, they both always want to put out the fire, but it's like they sometimes need to have a bit more of like a cooler head and just be like, okay, let me just sit, because like I can't always pinch the ball. So like first half, it was almost always working. But second half, there were times where like one would step out or both would step out, and it's like you just need to know when to just chill a bit, because we've got a leader. Let's sit, like let's force these lot to try and break us down in a low block, because these guys are mid. Like all they've got is just crossing it, and the crosses were dead anyways. But like if you open up space, then of course they can be a threat, and they did create some good chances. But other than that, no, like Gallagher defensively, I have to say he was still good, because there were times where Cucurella was inverted, and let's say we lost the ball, Gallagher would then sprint to left back and hold that position for Cucurella. Like I love shit like that. I love players actually backing their teammates and supporting them and like filling in when you need to fill in. So things like that was very good. He actually too was winning headers, like first contacts on corners to like help clear the danger. So I thought that was good. Defensively, like I didn't think he would ever be this good defensively, so I have to big him up for that. And yeah, offensively on the ball, winning the ball back, those things he was good. So I'll give him a 7.5. And again, I would like him to stay, because there's little intangibles like him being a homegrown player, and then he sees his banner and he goes out and puts up even better performance than he would do normally. Like things that like you want to have in the squad. I want to have players like him in the squad. I just don't want to have to rely on players like that. So
yeah, I agree.
That's how I feel about Gallagher. But again, games like yesterday, I got to big him up, man. He was good.
What about this guy? Because I agree with this. I think there's more and more people not talking about him anymore, because his performances are just at the level that that we want from him. He's had bad games where he's made wrong mistakes and it's cost us and things like that. But when you look at his overall games over the year, he's had a lot more better performances than people actually speak about it. And that's the problem. People haven't been speaking about him because he's just been doing what he needs to do. And he hasn't, for me, been a flop this season. Nowhere near it, in my opinion. I actually think without him in the team, we're even worse, to be quite honest with you, because he's energy getting around the pitch and winning balls and intercepting and that. And I keep like referring to it. He reminds me of two players that used to be at Chelsea. You'd probably disagree. I don't know. Essien, when he was in his prime, like the way he used to just get around and just like, use his body and like hold the ball and then play balls quickly but win balls as well. And then he also has that like that Ramirez style of getting around the pitch, up and down the pitch, in my opinion. Like he has that about him, you know, like he's a very good player, man. He just literally is. Like I watched him yesterday and he just impressed me hella. Like I like Caicedo anyway, but yesterday I saw Caicedo of what we bought him for. Like that Caicedo of Brighton, like that one that was just winning balls, shifting Sarr and Basuma, who were not bad two midfielders, off balls, winning balls off them, like controlling the game, carrying the ball, you know, getting up the pitch, dropping in, intercepting, blocking as well, throwing his body in front of balls so that they don't, you know, not taking shots. And, you know, he's got the most blocks in the Chelsea team this season. Like he's literally just, you know, Caicedo yesterday was just very good for me. And yeah, it could be because Cucurella got pulled into the middle and he had more time to be effective. And we keep saying, do we need to see someone closer to Caicedo in our build-up? Yes. Because Caicedo can now be more effective. Yes. I think we showed by yesterday, Poch doing that little tactical ploy of putting Cucurella next to him actually allowed Caicedo more time on the ball, actually. But also, when it came to the press, when we didn't have the ball, he could go, knowing that if he didn't win, Cucurella would then go and try. You know, we just had that assurance more so in the midfield. And I was just very impressed by Caicedo. And I do think that he is a top quality player. And he's got this energy that he just don't stop, does he? He's just everywhere, you know. And I love that that's the type of Kante energy that I like, you know. Just gets around the pitch like bang, bang.
I'm glad you said Kante.
Like that kind of,
I think Caicedo, for me, first of all, the Ramirez and Essien comparison is spot on because that's the same thing I said. I think he's in the same mold as those two plus Kante, you know. But except he is very good on the ball, you know, whereas Ramirez and Kante, you wouldn't say they were the best on the ball.
Yeah,
I agree. So he does have that advantage on them. And that's why I always wanted, you know, a DM with him because it will allow him to do more of what he's great at. You understand? So now we've seen that over the past two games where it's not really a full DM, but it's somebody who's there to support that space so he can now actually go and do what he wants to do. So I do think he's confident right now. He's probably feeling fit now because he was injured. He didn't get a preseason, all of that stuff. He's probably comfortable now. So I think like the conditions are just increasing and improving for him to actually do what he does. So, you know, I'm gonna keep it short there. You know, I think, you know, he's really showing why we bought him. You know, I still say I wanted Declan Rice over Caicedo, but I would have loved a package of Declan Rice and Caicedo. That would have been my ideal type of deal.
Can you imagine that?
That's insane, right? To me, that's insane right there. You know, you get everything there. But
I think Lavia will still be important, you know, a fit Lavia.
Yeah, hopefully. Because I'm not too familiar with Lavia. You know, I didn't really watch him last season too much, and he hasn't played this season. But, you know, I think there's still more to come from Caicedo. So, you know, long may it continue, really.
That's Caicedo.
Yeah, big performance, man. Like, this is, again, a player that we wanted to buy, you know. So, I'm happy to see him. Happy to see it. Again, dominant off the ball, very competent on the ball. Again, like I get the comparisons to Essien and Ramirez, but again, obviously him on the ball, it's different. Like there's that composure and that like, okay, I'm very comfortable in tight spaces, whether it's like to do a little rondo or to turn and play a pass using both feet as well. I don't think he gets enough credit for that. The fact that he can use both feet, it just makes him a lot more elusive and harder to like sort of pin down in the midfield. And again, when he's not making like these mistakes out of nowhere, so that a lapse in concentration, like you see his full ability. And I feel like for him, when he makes the mistakes, it's a lack of concentration. I don't think it's like a lack of ability. I think he has the ability to play out of tight situations. He just may make a mistake. But what we've seen in the last few games is that he's not making that mistake. He's being precise from the ball, and it also helps that you have somebody next to you that's like easy get out, you know. Yep. So again, this is how I want us to use Caicedo, because before we were using him almost like we wouldn't get him on the ball enough when we were trying to play through the press, and it's like it's hard to get him on the ball when he's the only man in the middle because he's easy to mark. But if you have Cucurella there, or you have Enzo sometimes dropping in there, or Gallagher, then he's harder to mark. So you can get him on the ball. He can play a quick 1-2 or whatever it is, and then dish it off. So I like that man. Again, he was good at switching the ball, getting it forward. Made a lot of good blocks and interceptions, and again off the ball, like just very good defensively. So Yeah, and I think it is good that he has somebody next to him that has the legs and the Gallagher that can cover the space when he does go. So he just feels a bit more comfortable. I think with Enzo, like he knows with Enzo, maybe he wasn't moving the greatest. So it gives Caicedo a bit more freedom and a bit more like, okay, I can go knowing that this guy's going to be able to do a 50-yard sprint and cover my ass if needs be. So it's good, man. So I gave Gallagher a 7.5. I'll probably give Caicedo an 8.5. Very impressed by him. And again, this is the money that we spent for. Maybe not quite 115 million because that's a lot of fees, but it's he's looking like a top player.
Yeah,
but that's the key with him, isn't it? It's looking at the players that we have bought in and them, and I said it earlier, display qualities. Yeah, it might not be £100 million worth, but in 2-3 years' time, it could definitely be £150 million worth if we're battling for trophies or Champions Leagues. And he's
still very young. Like he's still very young as well.
Exactly that. He's been very, very good. Alfie Gilchrist is probably the last player I haven't gone to yet. I mean, what was your thoughts, guys? I think he was quite solid, to be fair. He done all right. He just gets stuck in, didn't he? Like when I watch him, he just reminds me of a proper Sunday League football type of player.
He's just vibes, bro. He's just vibes. I think he's blessed to be in the first team, but also he does have some moments. He's decent aerially. He won a lot of headers yesterday over.
As well,
I forgot who he was playing directly against, but he won a lot of headers over them. But other than that, it's really just vibes with him.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's just funny watching him. Even little things like when he got injured at the end, you can see he's just upset because he just wants to play every single minute he can in a Chelsea shirt. Like it just means that much to him, and I just appreciate that. I don't overrate it because I don't think he's like the greatest. Like again, you can see why he was potentially going to be a League One club this season. But he's come here, he's taken his opportunity. And he's had some good performances. And again, it's nice on paper that he locked up Son. He can have that on his resume that he locked up Heung Min Son. But obviously, Heung Min Son in 2024 isn't the greatest threat. But I still won't take it away from Gilchrist that he did a good job. So I give him a 7. He did his job. Clean sheet against Tottenham at home. That's big, man. That's big for the kids. So big him up, man.
Yeah.
What about Achipong coming on and playing the way he did? Did you like what you saw of him in the short space of time?
I liked what I saw, man. And again, I've liked what I've seen of him in clips because he's the one that's been getting the most hype of these young kids right now. And again, he's somebody that I would like to see given more of a chance. And when Poch is talking about I want to blood in young players and all of this stuff, it's like, I mean, I guess I kind of count Gilchrist as a young player. I guess I kind of count Caicedo as a young player, but like, give Achipong a chance because he's a natural right back, and we've been struggling with right backs injuries this season. So like.
Please.
That's one thing that's frustrated me, but I liked what I saw, and I feel like he could have a future here. Again, that's somebody that I would like to at least be seen given minutes when Reece and Gusto are injured, So that's just my thoughts on it.
What's up with Gusto? How long is he out for?
I don't know. He's just got a muscle injury, is what I've been told.
Whatever it is, but just let him rest, man. Let him just rest.
Yeah,
He might have too much to play for, so just don't try and rush him back.
We've overplayed him again as well, in my opinion. To be fair, we just keep we've had no choice. We've had no choice really, and I don't really blame Poch because we haven't got anyone. I mean, he has got Gilchrist there, but if Gusto's on the available, you're going to play him, ain't you? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but I do blame him because you could have blooded in youngsters, and also let's not forget we did let some fullbacks go. I don't want to mention them by name because I've thought about them enough this season, but we did let fullbacks go. So like, and then you have young fullbacks there that can at least come in and like lighten the load, especially when we're not in a title race. I get it. We want to come out of being in a mid-table battle because every loss is one step closer to him being sacked. So I get that there's pressure, but again, like you're here on the remit that you want to develop young players. So develop these young players, like give them more of a chance. So.
Yeah, I agree. We got West Ham on Sunday. There won't be no match preview, but there will be a match review on Monday for you guys at 11. Might either be 11, 12, or 1. So watch out for that because. Don says he is doing it. It's just Don is unpredictable as much as he is with his own Chelsea.
We're calling him Diva Don now. Yeah, Diva Don.
So yeah, it's we'll see what happens, but it will be definitely Monday. I want to go because I want to go enjoy the sun, man. I'm sitting in the room in Morocco.
How's it out there, man? What's it like?
Listen, it's lovely, mate. It's lovely. The sun's out. The sun's beaming. The food's good.
I know that food is good. Food's good.
Yeah,
listen, Jem, for like half a second, like you said, look at the sun, and I just for like half a second forgot that you were like abroad. So like I look outside and I just see just just pure UK rain, like. And I'm like, oh yeah, bro. You know what, bro? Just enjoy that, man, because the UK spring is meant to be like weather's kind of getting better, and then I'm seeing thunderstorms the other night, like bloody hell, bro. Like, yeah, man, enjoy that, bro. Enjoy that.
We're showing commitment, right? If and at the end of the day we're still here, still managed to get it done. We've sat here with you guys during it all, and listen, we'll see how we get on against West Ham, who have not been an easy team for Chelsea in many recent occasions, anyway. But we're above the league. And if we beat them now, we go. I've not looked at the league. Are we going to be 5 points ahead of them if we beat them on Sunday? I think maybe, or something like that. You know, it leads us closer to Man United, guys. It's a game again that I feel we have to win. We have to win every game from now, in my opinion, going to the end of the season to get European football. So,
but again, Jem, quickly, like just remember the stat that I brought up last show after the Arsenal game, where like our record playing games after 3 or 4 days. You know, like it's very poor, and obviously the squad's bare thin, so we'll see if Poch can get something out of these boys again, because one thing I did want to give Poch credit for, right, like with Noni, like we saw that he was poor against Arsenal off the ball, but like yesterday, he was very good, and like we even saw them like they're embracing, he was giving Noni kisses, and like it made me think about earlier in the season where Poch called him out for, I think, going out clubbing and like throwing pictures and all of that, so like that kind of man management there, like I can appreciate that in Poch, because he actually got a good tune out of Noni defensively, right? And he can maybe give him some credit for how Noni's improved in the season, you know? So maybe you can give him some credit for that, and hopefully that can continue, and at least he can end the season on a respectable note.
He has to get European football for me if he's going to stay, if he's actually going to get a chance of staying at the club. He's got 1 more year left on his contract as well, by the way, guys. Don't forget that. West Ham, Forest, Brighton, Bournemouth were our last 4 games. Quick one. I want AJ and Ads to both predict their scores to this. I'm going to go with a win against West Ham, a win against Forest, a draw against Brighton, and a win against Bournemouth. 3 wins, 1 draw. I'm going with.
I'm going all wins.
Okay, 4 wins for AJ. Go on, Ads. What are you saying?
But the last time we did this, we literally went into playing Aston Villa, City, and Arsenal, and we didn't win any of those games. Like, we literally just did this. I don't even know if I want to do it because it's just a jinx. But I mean, on paper, we should win those. They're relatively favorable. Please just beat West Ham. Like just beat West Ham. Brighton again would be horrible to lose to. We got the Cho derby coming up as well against Forest, so that would be interesting. Could maybe relegate them. But yeah, no, we'll see, man. Just get some wins. Listen, I still want his manager gone, even if he win all the games. Like, I've seen enough to know he's not good enough, right? But again, just end on a respectable note, and maybe you can come back for the soccer aid game where you're managing. But you know, if you lose all these games, don't you dare step foot in Stamford Bridge ever again. You know, like ever. Get
Wins. Poch in, Poch out.
I'm gonna say I'm Poch out. I've been Poch out since December, but I'm gonna say if we get Europe, then I'll stick with him. You know, if we end with 3 wins out of those 4, then I'm cool with sticking with him. You know, on a decent note. But
you would keep him for the summer and next season if he win 3 or 4 games.
I don't know, because maybe he's building something now, but because the last 2 games I've actually seen management from the coach, and we actually look decent. I'm like, where has this been? So
he's left late, isn't he? Jesus, it took him this long.
Exactly, he's fighting for his life right now. He's fighting.
This is what worries me. I don't know whether he's learning, because he didn't learn against Arsenal by setting us up like that. Do you get what I mean? He's still got that bozo.
I don't trust it, bro. I
don't trust him. Yeah, exactly. I don't trust him.
It's hard.
It's hard to.
And that's for me. Like, I haven't seen enough to be like firm. Like, he's gonna be the guy. Like, because again, I've been him out since the United game at Old Trafford where we were abysmal. And I was like, from there, okay, cool. Maybe he can stay out the season as long as it stays relatively respectful. But like, start approaching other managers for next season, because I don't think this guy's it. And there's obviously the context of injuries. Like, again, we've been the team with the most we've been the team with the most games where we've had 10 plus players out injured. Like, that's just crazy to have that in the season. So part of that may be on his training methods, but also part of it is a bit of bad luck. And I will give him that allowance. And also the squad building wasn't the best for us. We didn't have a finisher up front for most of the season, where these good performances weren't converted into wins because we didn't put chances away. So I give him all of those allowances. But again, his in-game management, the fact that we were quite poor, and even yesterday we were quite poor second half again before Palmer's free kick. Like all of these things that I'm just seeing again, how he talks in the media, like I'm sorry, but he's just not a good coach for me. Like he's just not he could do a good job elsewhere, but I just don't think this fit here is the one for Poch. I just don't think it is.
And I hear that, and I think, listen, we're going to do, at the end of the season, we're going to do an analysis of Poch's season at the end of the season, and we're going to go through that. See, there is talks about, and he's even come out and said himself, I've got 1 year left of my contract. The owners are not talking to me. I don't know if I'm staying, if I'm going, or what I'm doing, which tells me that they've pulled communication away from him, and they're actually probably still trying to work out what they want to do here. And the fact that Hansi Flick's popped up, the fact that Conte's popped up, the fact that all these little elements of managers have popped up tells me that they probably are going around and talking to managers. Why should they may be thinking to themselves, maybe they need to change their direction a little bit and what they're trying to do, just to try and get the results that we need throughout a season, because we are inconsistent in the Premier League. We're well hella inconsistent. 7 years, nearly 8 years without a league. We're not even making Champions League the last two. Like, come on, like we need to fix that, So let's see what happens. But guys, I am going to dip. Big love to all of you. Ads, AJ, thank you guys, smash the likes, guys, and we'll see you again on Monday for the review. Big up, guys. Peace.
Yeah, love.